April 5, 2022, somewhere in Germany. A BKA investigator stares at his screen. His hand trembles slightly as he presses enter. In this moment, the servers of the largest illegal marketplace the world has ever seen go offline worldwide. 17 million user accounts, thousands of drug dealers, 543 bitcoins frozen, 23 million euros seized. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because Hydra Market was more than just a darknet shop. It was an empire, a digital realm that generated revenue of 1.23 billion euros in 2020 alone. For comparison, that's more than many publicly traded companies earn, and nobody knew who was behind it. Imagine this: while you're buying your bread rolls at the bakery, someone else is processing drug deals worth millions at the exact same moment. Legally, anonymously, invisibly, until this day. But how could a platform grow this large? Who built this empire? And most importantly, how the hell did the BKA find them? The answer will shock you, because this case proves that nothing in the darknet stays truly dark. Russia, 2017. The country is notorious for its darknet scene. Here, in the digital shadows of the internet, something massive is emerging. Something that will change the world of cybercrime forever. The story begins with the collapse of Ramp, the Russian anonymous marketplace. For years, Ramp was the leading Russian darknet marketplace. Drugs, weapons, forged documents, everything a criminal heart could desire. But then, in 2017, Ramp went offline. Power vacuum emerged. And into this vacuum stepped Hydra. Nobody knows who created the platform. No names, no faces, just a logo, a multi-headed Hydra, the monster from Greek mythology. It was fitting, because like the mythical creature, this platform seemed invincible. Cut off one head, two more grow back. The operators were clever, damn clever. They didn't focus on the global market like other darknet platforms. No, they concentrated on the Russian-speaking region: Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Moldova. A massive market that hardly anyone controlled. But Hydra offered more than just a marketplace. They offered a complete ecosystem. Dealers could offer their goods. Buyers could order anonymously. And here comes the genius part. Hydra operated a Bitcoin mixer. A Bitcoin mixer is like a car wash for money. You send your dirty Bitcoins in, they get mixed with thousands of other coins, and in the end, clean Bitcoins come out that can no longer be traced back to you. A nightmare for law enforcement. A gift from heaven for criminals. Within a few years, Hydra exploded. In 2018, it was still millions. 2019, hundreds of millions. But 2020? 1.23 billion euros in revenue. In a single year. The BKA later estimated that Hydra was the highest-grossing illegal marketplace in the world. Not one of the largest. The largest. 17 million user accounts. Imagine that. 17 million people all trading on this one platform. Some just buyers, others dealers. Still others used the mixer to launder their illegal profits. Thousands of vendors offered their wares, from cannabis to cocaine to synthetic drugs, but also stolen data, forged documents, everything you can imagine. And the crazy thing? Most people had never heard of Hydra. While the media reported on platforms like Wall Street Market, Hydra operated in the shadows, bigger, more powerful, more invisible. But somewhere in an office in Germany, someone started asking questions. Where were these Bitcoin transactions coming from? Why did so many trails lead to Russia? And what the hell was Hydra Market? The hunt had begun, but nobody suspected how difficult it would become. Wiesbaden, 2021. The Central Office for Combating Internet Crime, ZIT for short, is based here. German prosecutors and investigators specialized in cybercrime, and they had a problem. Bitcoin transactions. Thousands, tens of thousands, all led nowhere. More precisely, they led into Hydra's Bitcoin mixer. This is where it gets technical, but stay with me, because this is the key to the case. Bitcoin is considered anonymous, and that's true partially. Every transaction is stored in the blockchain, a public ledger. Everyone can see wallet A sends 2 Bitcoin to wallet B. But nobody knows who owns these wallets. As long as the identity behind the wallet address remains hidden, you're invisible. But the blockchain never forgets. Every transaction is stored forever. And that's exactly what became Hydra's downfall. The investigators started small. A drug dealer in Hamburg, arrested, his phone seized, on it wallet addresses, transactions, and all led to one platform, Hydra. A second case, this time in Munich. Another dealer, again Hydra. Slowly a picture came together. The ZIT began analyzing the blockchain. Hour after hour, day after day, they tracked the Bitcoin flows. Where did the money go? Where did it come from? And then the breakthrough. They identified Hydra's wallet addresses, the main wallets where the platform collected its revenue. 543 Bitcoins, at that time equivalent to about 23 million euros. But that was only the money they could see. Billions more euros had flowed through the mixer. Money that could never be traced again. Money that had disappeared into dark channels. The investigators faced a wall. They knew Hydra existed. They knew how much money flowed there, but they had no idea where the servers were located, or who operated the platform. Then came the crucial tip. From the USA, the FBI and other US agencies had also become aware of Hydra. American drug enforcement agents had cases where drugs were smuggled from Russia into the USA. The payments? All through Hydra. An international task force was formed. German investigators, American agents. Common goal, take down Hydra. For months they analyzed data streams. They infiltrated chat groups. They monitored transactions. And slowly, very slowly, they got closer. Until they found it, the server. Not in Russia as everyone thought, but in Germany. Right in the middle of Germany stood the infrastructure of the world's largest illegal marketplace. The irony was perfect. Hydra had hidden by placing itself in plain sight. Nobody would suspect a Russian Darknet marketplace in Germany. Nobody except the BKA. Now they just had to strike. But the timing had to be perfect. Too early and the masterminds would flee. Too late and the evidence could be destroyed. The clock was ticking. And in the shadows of the Darknet, nobody suspected that the noose was tightening. April 5th, 2022, 6 a.m. Somewhere in Germany, a BKA tactical unit stands in front of an inconspicuous data center. No sirens, no blue lights, absolute silence. This has to be quick. Every second counts. The investigators have a search warrant, signed by a judge in Wiesbaden. Target, Hydra Market's server infrastructure. 6:15 a.m. The doors are broken down. Technicians storm in. They know exactly which servers they're looking for. Rack 14, row C. There they are. Hydra's digital hearts. But here comes the problem. They can't just shut down the servers. If they do that, important evidence could be lost. Encryptions could activate. Data could self-destruct. The IT forensics experts work feverishly. They create backups. Image files of the complete hard drives. Every byte is secured. Every transaction. Every message. Every login. 6:47 a.m. The backup is complete. Now comes the moment of truth. An investigator opens his laptop. He logs into Hydra's backend. With the admin rights they obtained through the server takeover. His fingers fly across the keyboard. And then he replaces the homepage. Where the Hydra logo once stood, now appears the coat of arms of the state of Hesse. Below it, text in Russian and English. This platform has been seized. Central Office for Combating Internet Crime, ZIT. Federal Criminal Police Office, BKA. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. 7:03 a.m. Hydra Market is offline. At this moment, thousands of users worldwide are trying to log in. Dealers want to check their orders. Buyers want to track their deliveries. But instead of the familiar marketplace, they only see the seizure notice. Panic breaks out. In Telegram groups, messages explode. Is Hydra down? What happened? Are we all burned? Because that's every Darknet user's fear. If the police have the servers, they also have the data. 17 million user accounts, transaction histories, IP addresses, everything. At 9 a.m., the BKA faces the press. Holger Munch, president of the Federal Criminal Police Office, announces the success. Hydra Market, the world's highest-grossing illegal Darknet marketplace, was shut down today in a concerted action by German and American authorities. He speaks of 543 seized bitcoins, of 23 million euros, of 17 million user accounts. But then comes the sentence that makes people sit up. The identity of the operators is currently still unclear. Investigations are ongoing. Excuse me? They have the servers. They have the money. But they don't know who's behind it? Welcome to the world of cybercrime. Because Hydra's operators were ghosts. No real names. No addresses. Only encrypted communication and anonymous wallets. The investigators had destroyed the platform. But the heads behind it? They were still free. And somewhere, in a country far away, someone sat in front of a screen. He saw the seizure notice. He saw his empire collapse. And he smiled. Because he had prepared. The days after the seizure were chaotic. At the BKA, data piled up. Terabytes of information. 17 million user accounts. Millions of transactions. Chat histories. Order histories. The evaluation would take years. But the first findings were shocking. Hydra wasn't just a marketplace. It was a complete ecosystem. Dealers had their own shops within the platform. They rated each other like on Amazon. 5 stars, fast delivery, quality as described. Some vendors had thousands of positive reviews. They were business people, professionals, not shady figures in dark alleys, but entrepreneurs who marketed their drugs like products. And the customers? That was perhaps the most disturbing part. They weren't just typical criminals. They were students, employees, people like you and me, people who simply wanted to consume drugs and thought the Darknet was safe. But now their data sat on the BKA's servers. Every order, every delivery address, every payment. The question was, what would the BKA do with it? Holger Munch made it clear, we're focusing on the big fish, the dealers, the masterminds, not on consumers who ordered something once. But the fear remained, because the data also contained the big fish, dealers who had earned millions through Hydra, and they all left traces. In the following months, a wave of arrests rolled through Europe, in Germany, in Poland, in the Netherlands. Time and again, special tactical units struck. Time and again, servers were seized, drugs found, dealers arrested. But Hydra's operators? They remained missing. The BKA suspected they were in Russia. But Russia doesn't cooperate with Western authorities, especially not after 2022, when political tensions exploded. The operators had retreated to a country that wouldn't extradite them. They had hidden their money in cryptocurrencies that would never be found. They were rich, they were free, and they were probably laughing at the investigators. But then something interesting happened. Just a few months after Hydra's fall, new Darknet marketplaces appeared, with similar features, similar designs, almost as if someone had simply copied the Hydra software and uploaded it again. The Hydra had fallen, but as in mythology, new heads grew back. The BKA knew this. They had won a battle, but the war? That was far from over, because the Darknet doesn't die. It changes, it adapts. And the criminals? They learn from their mistakes. Today, more than 2 years after the seizure, the evaluation is still ongoing. Thousands of proceedings have been initiated. Hundreds of dealers arrested. Millions of euros seized. But the question remains, did it accomplish anything? The answer is complicated. Yes, Hydra is gone. Yes, many criminals were caught. But no, the Darknet hasn't become safer. On the contrary, it has become more cautious, harder to infiltrate, harder to take down. And somewhere out there, in the digital shadows, the next Hydra empire is already growing. The story of Hydra Market shows us something fundamental. In the digital age, Nobody is truly anonymous. The blockchain never forgets. Every transaction leaves traces. And sooner or later, these traces lead to you. 1.23 billion euros in revenue. 17 million users. 543 seized bitcoins. These aren't just numbers. These are destinies. People who thought they were invisible. Who thought the Darknet would protect them. But in the end, it was a server in Germany that brought down their empire. A server nobody suspected. A server the BKA monitored for months before they struck. Hydra's operators are still free. Somewhere out there. Maybe in Russia. Maybe in another country that doesn't extradite. They have their money. They have their freedom. But they also lost their life's work. And the question is, are they building the next one right now? What do you think? Will the operators ever be caught? Or have they disappeared forever? Write it in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Because the next case is even crazier. It's about a teenager who hacked NASA at age 15, and what happened to him afterwards you won't believe. Until next time, stay safe, even in the Darknet.